And we're coming back into regular session. We just came from executive session where no decisions were made.
No actions were taken.
No actions were taken. Now we're ready for commissioner comments. Commissioner Landis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Several things. I had the opportunity to attend the folks in the Cannonball Run that came through Junction City last Thursday to City Cycle Sales, and it was really a tremendous event. I couldn't really imagine going across country on some of these motorcycles, in quotes. Each one had to be built before 1936, and to go 20 miles from my house, let alone across the country, is pretty gutsy. So my hat's off to them. The Gary Community Healthcare Foundation Fall Classic Golf Tournament raised over $50,000 to put together a sexual assault response team for our hospital. If someone is assaulted in this community currently, they were going to either Salina or Manhattan for their investigation and examination, and this funding is going towards establishing a team here at our hospital to take care of those victims. So that was really a great thing, and it was a little chilly out there. Commissioner Aska joined me in the morning to play golf, so it was a challenge, but we had a good time. I also went to the little theater production at the Opera House, Jesus Christ Superstar, and they did a great job, and I would highly recommend that people attend. They got more shows this weekend, so try to make that happen. Also, the first meeting of the advisory group for the land bank met last Monday night. Everyone on the committee attended. We basically did kind of an orientation of what the land bank is, what properties are available, what the specials are, what the cost of the lots were, went over several different scenarios and had a lot of really good input and exchange for our first meeting. And I think city staff, we were all very happy with how things went. I talked to a few of the members that joined us, and they really enjoyed it as well, that they were actually able to provide input and direction. So we're going to be meeting again on September 24th, Wednesday at 6 p.m. to here at the building to kind of get some more work going. Lastly, I'd like everyone to kind of keep in their thoughts and prayers the Topeka police officer, Corporal Jason Harwood, who passed away in the line of duty last week. Just a horrible thing that unfortunately our emergency services personnel face daily, and our problems really pale in comparison, and our thoughts go out to his family and the Topeka Police Department. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Aska.
Although in my own sick sense of humor, I did have fun playing golf in the cold, getting wet, and getting up at that time of morning to go have fun. But no, it was fun. At least the group that I was with, we made the best of it. It was for a good cause, and enjoyed ourselves. The Flint Hills Metropolitan Planning Organization is going to have a consult team meeting September 24th. It'll be at the Opera House, the old Hoover Opera House, and they'll be talking about transportation plans for the region. And I encourage folks to go out to have some conversation, hear what they're going to talk about. I think they'll be talking about some of the proposed plans for the future of transportation. So I would encourage you all to go to the Opera House on September 24th, and it'll be between 4:30 and 7 o'clock p.m. there. Also wanted to send my condolences to the Paxton family. Richard Dick Paxton passed away last Friday. Probably a lot of you know him. Always had a smile on his face. A very nice, kind man. But my sympathies go out to the family and during this time. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Mayor McAllister.
In addition to those comments, I would really like to thank the Public Works staff for the work that they've done over the course of the last 4 years, which folks that have done hard work in the Public Works staff for many years. But there's been a concerted effort over the last 4 years. They were awarded state by state and national for the work that they've done. We appreciate every day what they do. It's a job that goes every day without being thanked, but we know they're there and we know they're doing a good job. I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Sands.
Last week, we had the pleasure of attending the Kansas Emergency Management Association training. It was held here for duration of the week. All the emergency planners from the state were here, and I just have to say, we have a great group, a very prepared group of emergency workers who respond to local and state emergencies. I learned a great deal. One thing that was mentioned that had never come out before, we need to look at neighborhood preparedness, and I think we'll look for more of that. But they talked about, there's a gentleman there that wrote books about neighborhood preparedness, neighborhood block captains. So like when there's an event, for instance, we could have been in Chapman or Manhattan or any of those places like that. Who comes in? I know like on my street I cut up wood, knock down trees and stuff, but you know, who in that neighborhood does what, can do what? And that's something for building strong neighborhoods. Second thing, we talked once about some of the commissions we don't have. I don't know anything about this, but the youth have been approaching me, and I think we need to get this off the ground. So I'm going to look for some youth, and I'm looking for the youth commission, the folks that actually talk with the youth. That's nothing but the youth, and then they come let us know what their concerns are. They should come here to the commission meeting. If we have it, I'd like to know more about it, but I don't believe we do because the youth don't know about it. So I want to get the youth commission, if you're interested in reporting or having a body of youth that the city will listen to, contact me. I want to get this thing off the road, or off the ground, excuse me. The gentleman came up with some great ideas on left turn lanes, and I hope we take a look at this because it made sense. And most of them dealt with on Ash Street, and he's done the work, he's done the time, and he says this is something we need to seriously look at. He wasn't just joking around. He says, why not have left turn lanes at Ash and McFarland right there where it meets St. Mary's? He says, because you have people that block both lanes. That road is wide enough for 4 lanes, and I know we'll get some conversation, but it made sense. It made sense to do it at Ash and 77. It makes sense to do it at Ash and Washington. It makes sense. And he even looked at trying to make it a 4-lane. I said, let's look at the left turn lanes first, and then we'll look at maybe making it a 4-lane. But 6th Street is 4-lane. It's a major road. McFarland's wide enough, or excuse me, Ash is wide enough to be a 4-lane. We should look at it. He said, one thing I want to look at is we spend a lot of time, and we've done this twice. I want to make sure that we receive, us commissioners receive all the information that's brought in, because we wasted a lot of time last week. And if we had known some of the information at the beginning of it, we spent 20 to 30 minutes where I didn't appreciate being here for 20 to 30 minutes to find out that all that research or all that stuff was eventually meant to be some type of research. I read everything in the packet. Provide us the information, let us decipher whether we don't or don't want it. Got a call today, and I'm learning about pickups. Special pickups, I thought it was a pretty easy thing. There's actually some particular stuff that we don't, it's a gray area, that's all I'll say. Tree branches, tree limbs, we know if we tie them up in 3-foot sections, place them by the trash can, they'll sometimes get taken away. As far as the city, we don't have that crew to come by and take away your tree limbs. So you may want to look at having someone, paying someone, or asking someone to come by and haul them away based on how big it is. But I don't have a pickup truck. But I do cut them up in 3-foot sections, not too big, and put them by the trash can. They get hauled away. But it can't be real heavy because most of our trash trucks have 1 person on them. So it can't be something that's going to be real heavy. So make them small bundles, they'll haul them away. Mr. Mayor, that's everything I have. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Commissioner Sands. My heart goes out to the Paxton family. They're good friends of mine. Also, Battalion Chief Rook lost his father this week also, Robert Rook. So that's two deaths in the family, basically. I was invited to go to a press conference at the hospital Thursday. That's all I can tell you. I think there's going to be some exciting news. Mrs. Beatty, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to thank the Public Works as well for Jammin and JC. You got an announcement for Jammin and JC?
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead.
Jammin and JC. Well, thanks for the Public Works for all of their hard work, because it did take a team effort. There's no I in team. It is a team effort that makes it successful. And particular note, this was Jerry Vernon's idea, that he hired the appropriate staff and carried it forward. At times when we thought we were stumbling, he would get us refocused and bring it to fruition, which made it successful. And though he is not a current employee, it is important for us to recognize that he left that legacy with us, and it shows with the award, because it was his idea that brought it forth, and was willing to take that risk as a manager to make it happen. Because we could have easily fumbled on that idea. And at times we thought we might, but it got carried forward because he kept it focused and showed his leadership skills to make it so. So we appreciate it, and I have expressed that to him personally. Soon after the announcement of the award, I called him and let him know that we didn't forget that he was the one who brought the idea forth. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
I don't
Ms.
have
Logan?
I don't have anything.
Mr. Ficken?
I don't.
Chief?
So thank you.
Mr. McCaffrey?
Nothing, Mayor. Thank you.
Sir Jim?
Nothing, sir.
Chief? Eddie? Mr. You're out.
Got two things real quick. I just want to just give you a status report on the comp plan. It is moving forward. It's taking a little longer than we planned on. My goal is to have the internal review done and all the edits to the consultant. Hopefully the Planning Commission can review that in October. We'll set the public hearings in November. But we're excited about what it's saying, and it's going to be a great document. The second thing is just to put you on notice or make you aware. We have had new floodplain maps presented to Geary County. It includes all of the county, including the cities. I don't know how much you're aware of where that's been done elsewhere in the state that's caused some problems, and I'm happy to report what we've seen right now is that we're all coming out very, very good. The big concern we had going in was what impact, if anything, changes might have, particularly along Chestnut and on our east side or on all commercial development. And you'll see it when these come forward, but everything that's been done in the past by predecessors that we've carried forward is working, because the new maps show the little blocks where the buildings have been elevated out of the floodplain, just like it's supposed to be done. So officially, we're in a comment period right now. Those are scheduled to be formally released and presented to the public to begin the statutory approval process, which takes almost 18 months. But December 5th is the target date when that will happen. So we're excited about that, and we'll be moving forward on that as well.
Thank you.
Jan and JC, Friday night, the 26th, and Saturday starting at noon, the 27th. Be there, be square. Great bands, lots of fun. Come on down.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Let's go home.
Those limbs.
Tyler.
What we did, if the neighbor was doing, they would,
Should open by this.
I'll email you guys to let you know.
Let's bring this meeting to order. We'll begin with the moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next order of business will be public comment. The commission requests that you limit your time to 5 minutes. Anybody with anything to say, please approach the podium. State your name and address. No takers. The next thing on our agenda will be the consent agenda.
I had a question on the EMS supplies. Chief?
Yes, sir.
What portion of the budget, percentage-wise, do those supplies carry?
Well, we budgeted $60,000 next year for them. It was 40 this year.
Okay,
60 out of the...
A $3 million budget.
Yeah, so...
okay, they're just hard to get.
Shortages, a lot of different situations. Usually we use more medical or Southwest Medical are only two. There'll be times when the whole country can't get certain types of drugs in emergency services, and we'll have to just get what we can from them. Now, the hospital has graciously granted us any time we're in a bind, but we can't actually find some medications and some supplies. If they have them, they would more than willingly lend us to them. But it's kind of like the stock market. The price varies so much. If we tried to go out to bid on all this every time, and I'm sure Commissioner Landis understands this, the way medicines are priced and supply and demand and so forth, we just thought that we had not been doing this, so we kind of turned ourselves in, so to speak. We just thought maybe we needed to ask that we, on our drugs, to
Okay,
do this.
and these are non-asset expenditures, and they're just EMS supplies?
Yes, disposables.
Okay.
Most of them are classified as drugs.
Okay, good.
This stems from discussions with the department heads about the auditors getting more particular about us following protocol and procedures. And as they started questioning some of, were we in total compliance of our 10,000 and over on the bids, I informed the department heads that we were going to be more strict on that. And there were questions, some of these questions come up on a regular basis. Public Works has asked you for some exceptions on that. And that's the protocols. They have to ask you for these exceptions, otherwise they're in violation of the policy.
What about the oversight? And it still goes through you,
Yes.
or how does it work?
Well, anything over $10,000 is technically supposed to have approval of the city commission. When that occurs in the system, and they write in a purchase order for that, then it automatically goes for an approval from me, the city manager, and it's supposed to be you. I have the authority to check off the box that says for you if they followed procedure or not. And so when you give him an exemption like that and he puts his purchase order in for over 10,000, I will say, yeah, he came to the city commission and got an exemption on that. Or yes, he came to the city commission and got approval for the purchase over $10,000. So I make sure that after when the purchase order is done, whether unless I don't remember, I would check with Tyler and say, is that on the? I can't remember. Is that on the agenda and did it get approved? I think I did that on one of the Public Works one recently. I went to Tyler and said, okay, I can't remember, did this already go through the City Commission? And it did, so then I checked the box, yeah, the City Commission approved this, over 10,000.
I wasn't so much concerned about the fiscal policy piece, because I think that's being followed.
Yeah.
But it was the small line items that they had to go out for bid on, and continually to go out for bid and not find somebody that had it, so they had to turn around and do it again.
Yeah, well,
So-
that too.
So those
but-
are the under the 10,000.
Yeah, but collectively, he was still buying drugs that was over 10,000 a year from the same vendor potentially.
Okay.
He potentially buys more than 10,000 from one vendor. And so the policy reads that if you're buying product of more than $10,000 from one vendor, then you should be looking for
Competitive
a
bids.
competitive bid.
Okay.
Purchasing groups for buying pharmaceuticals that you guys?
There are, and EMS equipment, and we are members of those also.
All right.
Um,
That's usually a better way to get a good deal.
It is, and the dosages too. We do not, some of our drugs are single doses, some are not, that have to be drawn out, and we do get better pricing on that, obviously, too.
Okay.
So to be in full compliance, that's why it's on your agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, say, or any further discussion?
None here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item will be special presentations. Presentation of the American Public Works Association Management Innovation Award by the American Public Works Association to the City of Junction City.
Yes, Mayor and City Commission, if I could have you come forward as far as with me, Mayor. As the city is aware, we were notified last late spring, early summer, that the city had received at the state level the Management Innovation Award through the American Public Works Association at the state level for the city's assumption of the Public Works Department, which was really an endeavor that was started in August of 2010 when the city placed on notice as far as the contractor that there was an intent to reassume back the core operations of the Public Works Department. We recently received both of these awards. In particular, we received the national award within the last month, and when Ray Ibarra and myself received this award, there were some discussions at the national level. They had asked as far as to be able to formally present both of these awards to the city, particularly as far as and have the mayor receive these awards both at the state level as well as at the national level, because they felt that they were so significant as far as on the undertaking that the city as far as undertook in bringing this department back. I've got Ray Ibarra and Mayor, actually, if you come on over here. I'm not sure how many know, but Ray is the State of Kansas American Public Works Association president for the state of Kansas this year, and it just so happened that he's involved in our operations, and he's serving as president as we receive this award. Ray has a few words that he would like to say on behalf of the city, and as well as presenting as far as the state level award. And then thereafter we have Chuck Williams. Chuck Williams is the APWA Region 6 Director at the national level. Chuck also is a lifelong Kansan as far as having worked in the public works area for 30-plus years in the state of Kansas. He currently is the Director of Municipal Services in the city of Lenexa. So he spent a stint at the city of Manhattan, so he knows all too well, actually, the undertaking that the city undertook starting almost 4 years ago with this process, because Jerry Vernon, the former city manager, actually had several discussions with him when he initially, as far as indicated his desire and intent as far as to have the city pursue this endeavor. So I'm going to have Ray step forward. I've also asked several of the Public Works employees to show up. I think it's extremely important that we acknowledge them, because I think without them, I don't think this entire process would have been a complete success. And I think it's truly been a huge success on behalf of the community. We got a long way to go, but I think as far as in the last couple of years, I think it's been a tremendous success for the community. And I think these individuals in the back 2 rows are a big reason why that is such a huge success. So, Ray?
Thank you, Greg. As a state chapter president, there's various awards that we go through national that set down and set some standards for us to apply for. And we applied for one of these awards, and we're proud to accept this award. So, Mayor Ryan, I would like to present you with the award for the state chapter Excellence in Program Operations Management Innovation Award. It's assumption of the Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Ray, it's an honor, and I really appreciate receiving it from you. Ray and I worked together for a lot of years. This award, Jerry Vernon did a lot of work to get this started. To the commissioners, 3 of the commissioners were here when this started. You guys deserve this a lot more than I do. And all of you people in the back row. Wouldn't have happened without you. You know, that's obviously the truth. And thank you for your hard work.
Well, as Greg indicated, I actually just recently celebrated my 39th year in Public Works. So I've been to a lot of governing body meetings. And I have to say that when I can come and recognize an organization and a department in front of the governing body, it's a lot more fun than the other governing body meetings, with all due respect. And I've had some really long meetings. And I will not try to make this one of them. But first, I'd like to recognize the staff also. I think this speaks highly of the staff and the professionalism and the care that they have for this community to show up here this evening. And I thought, well, you know, I can get a lot of my staff someplace at time and a half. But Ray says they're here on their own. And so I think that speaks extremely highly of all of them. And you're to be congratulated to have that kind of a staff. One of the things about this award at the national level, Kansas, in my career, and I'm a life member of APWA, and I spent most of it here in the Kansas chapter, probably just slightly over a handful of national award winners in the state of Kansas. The Management Innovation Award is only given to one agency. It's not, the National gives out a lot of awards, lots of projects of the year, only one Management Innovation Award. And I want to emphasize, this is not given to the city because you brought something from the private sector into the public sector. This is given to you because of the manner in which you did it, the innovation you used, working with your partner, your private partner, to allow this to come back in. Those are the innovative techniques that you use to do that. That is why the city of Junction City was recognized at the national level, and you're to all be congratulated.
Thank you. And thank all of you guys again. We got them both. Thank you.
What we'd like to do, if we could, is we'd like to get the staff up here to get a photo with the mayor and Ray and Chuck, please.
I'll get a picture. I'll get a picture.
That'd be a nice picture.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
So
that's right. Thank you.
I enjoyed
Thanks for coming
talking with you.
All right, I appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
Some of you might have to knee it.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be a wide shot.
Somebody's going to have to knee it, or they're not going to get all in there.
Yes, I know. She's in her 30s, but that's a young lady.
That's true. That's young.
Cool.
Wow, everybody shot at the same time.
Thank you, guys. Congratulations, guys.
So get out while you can.
Next item on the agenda will be the Pawnee Mental Health Recovery Month proclamation. Prevention works, treatment is effective, people recover. Whereas behavioral health is an essential part of health and overall wellness, and prevention works, treatment is effective, and people can and do recover from substance use and mental disorders. And whereas it is critical to educate our policymakers, friends and family members, healthcare providers, and businesses that substance use and mental disorders are treatable, and that people should seek assistance for these conditions with the same urgency as they would any other health condition. And whereas substance use and mental disorders are serious public health problems, and in 2011, 2.3 million people aged 12 and older received treatment for a substance use disorder, and 31.6 million people aged 18 or older received treatment for a mental health problem. And whereas the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the White House Office of National Drug Control Policy, and Pawnee Mental Health Services observe Recovery Month to raise awareness and understanding of recovery from substance use and mental disorders. Therefore, the City of Junction City, Kansas, does hereby proclaim September 2014 as Recovery Month in Junction City and calls upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Junction City to recognize the importance of recovery and to commit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of substance use and mental disorders and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people. And we have somebody here. I thought maybe you were here for that, Joy.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I think you have the wrong year, though, maybe, because you read, is that 2014? It looks okay. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Certainly is, because it even reads wrong.
Yeah. So, but this looks more official than this one, so. Unfortunately, the numbers didn't go down from last year to this year. They went up, but Pawnee Mental Health certainly appreciates the support of the city to help people overcome their substance abuse and mental disorders. Without the agencies like Pawnee Mental Health, these people would have very little hope, and they can really tear up a family. If you've been in a family where there is someone with a mental disorder or substance abuse, it can really be a life-changing episode for the family, and Pawnee Mental Health is there to help that person and the family recover. And this is Recovery Month, so remember them this month especially. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda will be consideration of an appointment to the E911 Board.
Mr. Mayor, we're recommending that Chief Kevin Royce be appointed to the 911 Board for an unexpired term to the end of the year. There's some important decisions that are going to be happening on that board soon, and so we want to have the position filled.
Is he replacing somebody, or what's?
We had asked a former member to step down, asked him to, because he had not been attending the meetings.
I'd move to recommend Fire Chief Kevin Royce to the E911 Board.
Second?
I have a motion and a second to approve the appointment of Chief Kevin Royce. Is there any further discussion?
I'm here.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0. Next item on the agenda, moving into new business, will be consideration of the final plat of the Dollar General addition to Junction City, Kansas. Mr. Yearout.
Mayor and Commissioners, there's technically 3 items associated with this. The actual final plat document, which will carve off the property being platted as the Dollar General addition. Those of you who've been around a long time will know that is where the old Goodyear Tire Store sits, immediately to the west of Intrust Bank that's currently vacant. A larger block of ground is being carved off and sold to Dollar General for the purpose of raising that existing building, and they'll build a new one. You're also aware, I'm sure, that they currently occupy the building that's just to the west of that, and the intention is to build the new building, move the business into it, and then they'll vacate the building where they are. This project started in our review process not quite a year ago. We took it to internal review and went to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission approved this in the January meeting of 2014. The recommendation of approval had with it some conditions. One, they required a higher setback along 6th Street because of a long-standing policy that no new buildings would be any closer to the street than essentially where Intrust Bank currently sits. There were also significant issues with the fact that there is an existing storm drainage structure that runs underneath the parking lot, and as it turns out, the existing building is partially built over that structure, and without relocating that would mean the new building would be also, which under our current rules, we would not be in the ability or have the ability to sign off on a building permit. So we've got a full development agreement that within the body of that addresses the relocation and reconstruction of the storm drainage structure that cuts diagonally across that property from where, if you've been out there and seen it, you know where it crosses 6th Street coming from the south and then travels north and east across the property and goes underneath Garfield and eventually works its way all the way to the Republican River, but not as an underground structure. The third issue will be a release of an easement where the current drainage structure exists. That was done by a separate document. I've not done full research to get the timelines on these, but it's evident from the time that the plat originally of the Garfield Plaza addition occurred, which according to our records was done in 1971. That drainage structure already existed. It had been granted as a separate easement. At the time that plat occurred, the plat showed that the building already existed, so it was over the easement then. And without digging into records or trying to find out when it all happened, we just presume it just happened, and it's there. And now we're at a point where we need to clean that stuff up. So there's been a long discussion that has occurred both with respect to the costs associated with the relocation of the storm drainage structure. Part of that was predicated on where on this lot the proposed building would occur. Initially, the intention was for the building to be set along essentially the west line of the property, and the drainage structure would then be routed between essentially the Intrust Bank building and this new building. Other issues arose with respect to other agreements that occurred on that property over time, and it necessitated the proposed building being moved back essentially, although it will be bigger, but essentially where the Goodyear building sits. And the routing will be then further to the west and then around the north side. And all of that's has taken time to work out the details of that because unfortunately there are a number of parties involved in this between the sellers of this property, the other owners of land to the north, which includes the school district, and just a whole series of other things that have gone on. So that's why it's taken this long to get there, get to here. The request tonight is for you to authorize the approval of the plat. If you're concurring with the content of the development agreement, accept that, and also then would concur with the release of the easement, which is the third document. Not all of these are here in signed form. We do have the plat available, so that would be able to be processed fairly quick. We had final edits occurring on the development agreement even today, and Ms. Logan can address what needs to be done within that. Assuming, for the sake of discussion, that you choose to move forward, the release of an easement agreement we'd like you to authorize to occur, but that will not be filed of record until the new alignment would be constructed and completed so we could release the current one. So we're asking you to at least bless this process to move forward, and then we will manage when those documents get recorded based on actual things and events that occur on site. So that's kind of the summary of the history of how we got to where we are today. If you've got questions with respect to the content of the development agreement and what that's been done, Ms. Logan can address the issues with respect to discussions that occurred between her on behalf of the city, the attorneys for who ultimately are the owners of the property, which is a company out of Tennessee that will build this on behalf of Dollar General, and of course the existing owners, which are Calico Properties, represented by Mr. Strubing, and Intrust Bank is involved because there's a sliver of their land that's being included in this. With respect to any discussion on the content of the cost share proposal on reconstruction and enlargement of the storm drainage system, I'll refer that to Mr. McCaffrey. So be happy to answer the questions I can, but you may have questions, but I have a feeling it'll probably be on other issues. So.
Do you want to hear from me on a quick summary of the development agreement?
Yes.
So because there are infrastructure improvements involved in this replat, the city statutes require there to be a development agreement with the person seeking the plat. That's why we have a development agreement in this case, and we've had development agreements of this general sort with other platting. What this one addresses is both acknowledging that the existing stormwater improvements are going to have to be moved in connection with this replat. Typically, if that was all that was occurring and they were just simply being moved, this would acknowledge that, put that cost at the developer's cost, require the developer also to, obtain public bond and things like that, and to build it to, city specifications. But in addition, and in this case, city staff is recommending that the city take the opportunity, since this movement is going to occur, to also upsize the stormwater improvements, and Mr. McCaffrey and Ms. Beatty can address that in more detail. So since the recommendation of staff, engineering staff, is that these upgrades, increases in capacity occur while the work is being done, because that's the most effective way to do it, this agreement also covers that. And it covers it in several sections. There were cost estimates that are consistent with the bids from a Stava Building Corporation that indicate the cost, the maximum cost of the increases, that portion of the work, and that's what's reflected in this agreement. In Section 1.7, the city is obligating itself to reimburse the developer not to exceed amounts of $118,669 plus a not to exceed cost of construction engineering inspection of $11,867. That makes this one a little bit unusual, because usually the city isn't paying any portion of the cost, but in this case they are, because as I understand it, this portion of the infrastructure improvements is not really required for their use. It's something the city is requesting them to do. Other than that, other than the standard language that the contractor has to perform or provide the typical bonds that the city would require if the city were doing the work and that sort of thing, it's really pretty standard language. There isn't really anything unusual in here, unless anybody has any questions or concerns about those.
I just questioned a good and workmanlike fashion. Is that standard for development agreements?
Yes.
Okay.
That would be standard if we were entering into the contract with the contractor.
I hadn't seen that before.
That's standard.
Okay.
And if you have any questions about Exhibit C, which sets forth the kind of the determination of the cost, you can ask Mr. McCaffrey or Ms. Beatty about those. Does anybody have any?
Yes, I did have a question on the cost.
Oh, okay.
When I read through here, I understood that the city's paying half the cost because the city's upgrading the size of it.
Essentially, that's correct. What we're paying for, not entirely 50%, it's slightly less than that because we're not paying for the engineering of the rerouting. We're not paying for 50% of, say, for example, the digging or excavating of the trench because they would already have to, we're just paying for that supplemental portion of it, but it's essentially that.
And are we paying $130,000 or are we paying half of that?
What we're paying is $118,000, which is the construction.
Plus the 11,867.
And the 11,867, that is the construction engineering portion, so it's not just on-site observation of the installation of the pipe, but it's also the review of the shop drawings. There will be 3 large, I want to call it manhole chambers that will be constructed as part of this project, primarily 2 of them. Those are going to involve shop drawings that are going to have some structural review required with structural steel and concrete design in those. So that's incorporated as part of that. We'd be looking at picking up half of that cost.
Half
So-
of 11.8?
No, that is half. That is half. So the construction engineering cost, if you were to assume 20%, would be roughly around $20,000 to $22,000. So this is an amount not to exceed that amount. So if we get into where we're reviewing shop drawings numerous times or the contractor is not as efficient in installing as far as the pipe or completing the project, the city's maximum amount, it would be this amount, as far as which is roughly 50% of that construction
Or a
engineering
total of
cost.
130,000, is that what we're?
Correct,
That's
correct.
what
If you were to
I'm
add
trying
all
to
those,
That's
Okay.
the
Right.
not to exceed amount.
right.
And this would come from the stormwater fund.
Cheryl answered mine. Cheryl answered mine.
Were there any further questions?
I think I read somewhere where this was part of the master plan anyway, down the road to
Yes.
upgrade that part of the sewer,
Correct, correct.
This was one of the items listed on the AMAC report that you recently received as
okay.
Greg, I just have one question. It's a small question. On the diagram there in the upper right-hand corner, is that a common term, the cotton gin?
The cotton gin axle?
I read that whole
What,
thing and
what that is a reference the surveyor put on when they prepare documents like a plat or whatever, they've got to call out where previous monuments have actually been established by previous surveyors. And that's a piece of a cotton gin, a pin, that was actually used as a corner marker that was put in, referenced in the notes as that they actually buried the spindle or whatever it was out of a cotton gin, and that carries forward forever.
Okay. Because I said,
Yes,
there's got
it
to
is.
be something else.
Well, yeah, no, they didn't bury cotton gin out there. It's just a part of
Just
it.
a part of it.
Just a
Okay.
part of it.
funny.
Okay, thank you.
Magnifying glass to read that.
I blew it up big and I read that.
I'd read that too.
Yeah. No, there's no further
That's funny.
questions, Mayor. Thank you.
I'd move to approve the Dollar General addition to the City of Junction City, Geary County, Kansas to be approved. To approve the Department of Developmental Agreement for the Dollar General addition as presented, and approve the release of the easement document concerning the storm drainage structure to be removed and relocated, and that the mayor and city clerk be authorized to sign the plat accepting the dedications thereon, sign the development agreement, and sign the release of easement on behalf of the City of Junction City, Kansas.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Passed 5-0.
Mr. Mayor, I might acknowledge, of course, Mr. Strubing is here on behalf of one of the owners that's selling the property, but Bob Gage, who is with GBT Realty, is the one that's been handling the material and discussions with the developer on the project with the city. And then Gary Walker is the surveyor that did the work, found the cotton gin. And he's with Cornerstone Surveyor, and they're out of Independence, Kansas. So.
I trust that you guys will be having other projects coming forth immediately.
Thank you.
You can build a house here, too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration to use carryover money in the EDC budget to pay for salary and expenses for a full-time EDC director position from the time of hire in 2014 and throughout 2015.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tom Wigand with the Chamber of Commerce. You guys are having more fun tonight than the last time I was here, so I appreciate that. Thank you for your service. Yes, I'm here to request the use of the carryover funds to hire an additional staff person, specifically charged with economic development 100%. The EDC has talked us over for months about the need and the duties, the job description, what that may be, and have unanimously agreed that that's important that we move forward on this. The Chamber Board is also in agreement with that. We have talked with the county commissioners. We have been actually very careful and have not used the funds and have carried them over and are asking you to permit us to use those to go after full-time economic development specialist. This will take, I expect some time. I would hope or would think if everything falls in place, we could have someone in place by the December timeframe or the first year. So there might not be much of those expended this year. But yes, next year's budget that we've already gone through the process with does not include that. So we would ask you for the permission to use some of those carryover funds. It won't take all of them.
If you recall, during the budget process, we did bring this up, and it was part of the budget documents he gave you. I reminded you that it may not cause a budget impact for the 2015 budget, but potentially a budget impact for the 2016 budget. However, that's not their intent at this time. They're going to try to work within the monies that they're allocated. The reason he's before you tonight is because when we originally negotiated the original agreement, we talked about any monies that was left over that they should go back to the city and the county, split the way that they were received. That was left out of the amended agreement, but I felt that since it was city and county money, that it'd be courtesy, prudent courtesy of the board to request a formal request to you about how that money is to be expended, since it wasn't the original budget. It was not that way in the original budget that was presented to you a year ago. And it wasn't spent the way that it was originally allocated. So that's why he is before you tonight, because it is the funds of the city and the county, and you're doing this likewise to the county commissions.
You've already had conversation with the county?
We have.
Okay.
So are we getting another director, Susan?
To a little review, when the consolidation took place, the position that I filled was charged with 60% to become the economic development director, and 60% of my time and was to be dedicated to that, as well as 60% of my salary come from that. And Susan Jagerson, our ED specialist, her time was to be dedicated to that. In the reality of things, bringing all of it together and going forward with all the moving pieces and the expectations of the economic development is really not being fulfilled to the amount of time allotted for that. We have, I think, an opportunity here to fully utilize what I would call a seasoned professional in the recruitment and the retention and expansion of business, who should dedicate all of their time to economic development. Going forward, and we're having a strategic planning session with the Chamber Board next week. Going forward, there might be some realignment of the position I fill's responsibility and salary allocations and time allocations, but that will be determined at that time. But I think there is a need for this individual to dedicate their time, full time, for that purpose, working in the region, in the state, site consultants, land acquisition, negotiations, and those kind of things.
So we'll have like 1.5 people in economic development?
Yeah, probably.
No, you would have
Probably more than that.
there to be 2 full-time,
2.5.
and then your position could be 40, 50, 60%. Your salary of your position being paid?
Yeah, it will. I would think that. We have not decided on that, but my allocation from ED will be reduced, in my opinion.
I'd be curious to see how all that works out.
It is a puzzle we're trying to put together to what makes it work the most efficiently.
The EDC position or the EDC portion is very important to the city.
Absolutely.
It's high visibility. There's a lot of things going on, like you say, a lot of parts to the puzzle moving around. This full-time professional, what range do you think that salary is going to be in?
Well, there is a range of, we've talked from, and that depends on experience, season. ED people come at a higher price than chamber people. They demand that, and so I believe I'm safe to say, depending again on the person, the qualifications, the time in the field, the education, the background, and all of that, 50 to 80, and that's quite a range. It's probably going to be in the middle of that to begin with, or more.
My concern is that is a lowball figure. If you're going to get a true EDC person in here who really knows how to do EDC.
It's going to be, I would agree with the city manager that's conservative. I'm hoping that we get the season that someone wants to settle into a smaller community and exercise their skills and their time to move it forward and make a difference. I know of others just beginning in the field with maybe 2 or 3 years of making $70,000 or more. But we will see. I know the EDC is thinking in the terms that I quoted, and we'll have to see what is. We will go out and advertise. Salary dependent upon skills and ability.
My concern is that we're simply going to be the training ground and a revolving door, and not getting high-quality, true economic development directors.
Could there be commissions or bonuses based upon performance?
Mhm.
And maybe that might be the way to entice someone to stick around. And they have to
We don't.
sing for their supper.
We don't want the revolving door.
Yes.
We want somebody here that'll stay here. I think we've suffered from the revolving door. We want to make sure we've got the right person. We've got a person who can relate to elected officials, to the public, to the press, to real estate professionals, to site consultants, to planning, talk the talk and walk the walk, and have some experience, don't step in too many potholes. I think they're out there, and I know I've worked with many of them, just getting whether they're looking for a move or not is the question. But we would hope to find someone with at least 3 to 5 years of experience, a good track record, good references on a track to be successful and attract companies and people and know how to work with expanding companies and working through the process. Not going to be probably an overnight hire, but it'll take some time, and I would hope we don't hire until it feels right. It's right. We don't want to settle.
Well, I think the position is needed. I'm not sure how we're going to pay for it, but we need to be proactive. We need to have somebody that is solely dedicated to that portion. A lot of things happening. We need to have somebody reaching out continually, somebody that's responsible and accountable for those actions.
Right. We're going to, we have been able to do some things. We have made some good contacts, good relationships. I think answered every call and have made calls and outreach of our own, but not definitely on a full-time basis or as many as we'd like to.
Right.
And so that is what the program we're going to put in place. We're going to put in the goals of the position, the expectations of the position, the accountability in that regard. So fully aware.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Need a motion to approve the use of those kind of
Yes.
funds already? What kind of funds are?
What are you looking for, Cheryl?
For, now what?
What kind of motion are you looking for?
That this board agrees to the use of the reserve funds for
Reserve, that's
hiring the position.
I couldn't remember what that was, the reserve fund.
It's their reserve funds.
I'll
They're cash carry.
I'll make a motion to allow the EDC to use the carryover funds for the purpose of hiring a full-time EDC director.
There you go.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the request. Any further discussion?
That's just
For
for
the-
2014 and
For the rest
2015.
of, for the rest of this year if
Yeah, and
necessary, and
2015.
all of 15.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Nothing.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
With that, I know it's not on the agenda, but I have Susan with us tonight to give you an update on activity over the last few months, if you would take that time.
Hi, Susan Jagerson, Economic Development. We just wanted to update you on some of the things we've had going on. This is our mid-year report, kind of late for mid-year, but we're getting here now. We've been working on some projects. We've had 2 projects with the Kansas Department of Commerce. One of those resulted in ACT coming to Junction City, which has been a huge success for us. Just was out there the other day talking to them. They're doing great. They've hired about 140 people now. So they're really happy. Their client that they're working with is very pleased, loves the facility, which is very, very nice, loves the community, and they are very, very pleased with their workforce and the people that they have out there. So
We have about 180 applications waiting to process. Workforce is there.
in fact, they were told by their client to slow down on hiring a little bit because they were growing a little bit too big, too fast, but they're moving along, so it's really a good thing. We've had 2 potential projects for existing buildings that we're working on now. Those are in the works. You'll be hearing about those, I think, probably in the next few weeks or so. So we're working on those. We've been working a lot with getting those rented. So hopefully that's all going to work out. Professional development, I just completed the business retention course in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago. I went through that. It was a very good course. Brought back with me the idea that we really need to have a business retention program. We really need to get a database going with all of our businesses, make sure that we're tracking our visits, getting out and visiting our companies, and we also need to have a business retention team. We need to get a group of experts, professionals together that we know what their skills are when a business needs help. So we've got some people that we can call on, people that businesses are used to working with, and get a business retention team together within the community. So we're going to be working on that and getting that going. We're going to be doing some walking tours, which is basically just dropping in to some of our businesses, saying hi, seeing how they're doing, doing some different focus group meetings and things with our businesses, just to get our business retention and expansion program going. So that's kind of what I brought back with me from Indianapolis, that we really need to do a formal, we've done, you know, company visits and stuff like that, and worked with our industries, and really have gotten where we have contacts at all of our industries. If we have an issue or they have an issue, we can talk and things like that. If we see them out in public, we can have conversations. So that's a good, but we really need to get it formalized. So we're going to be working on that. We also attended Bio-Kansas Day at the state capitol in early fall, or early spring. We went there, and Tom and I participated in that. So that was a really good professional development exercise, working with the bio people, talking with the legislators, and conferences that we're doing. We've got KEDA coming up, which is the Kansas Economic Development Alliance. Tom and I go to that every year. This year it's in Emporia. So that's a really good opportunity to network with other economic developers, find out what's going on in the state. So we've got that coming up. Activities that we're doing, we participate in Team Kansas, which is the state of Kansas marketing activities. We pay to belong to Team Kansas, and with that we get to attend different marketing activities or different recruitment activities with the state of Kansas. I attended a lunch in Houston with developers and people who provide initiatives to economic development and site consultants. I attended a lunch in Omaha, and I attended an event in Chicago at the White Sox game. So it was a Team Kansas marketing event, but and then also we attended the Team Kansas event in Wichita to honor the Geary Community Hospital, which we nominated for the Kansas Award of Excellence. They were one of 5 finalists for the award, so we attended that. Tom and I both participate on the regional workforce tags. They're groups that have come out of the leaders retreat, the regional leaders retreat. I participate on the workforce tag, and Tom participates on the regionalism in practice and the asset development tag. So those are both regional activities that we participate in. We also have a human resource group that we put together that is a local group of our workforce, that we hold quarterly meetings with industry. We've got city, we've got county, a school district participation. So we get together with our industry and our county and public and talk about workforce issues. We've had the last meeting we had with that, we had met with Dr. Witt at USD 475. The next meeting we have scheduled in October is going to be a joint meeting with the Manhattan Workforce Group. Manhattan has a group similar to ours. Of course, theirs is a little bit bigger, but we're going to meet at the on K-State campus, and we're going to have a joint meeting with our workforce groups, kind of to discuss common issues and things like that, get people talking and get people to know each other, and again, that networking with our industry people and their industry people. So we're going to put that together. I presented at the Manhattan Workforce Group last month on ACT. They wanted to hear about our success with ACT, so I presented there. I'm also right now participating in the Flint Hills Leadership Group. I started attending that. We had our first session with Mick's brother at the Flint Hills Leadership Group last week, so I'm participating in that. That's very exciting, and it's a great thing to get to know people from around the region. So we're also participating, or I'm participating on the Flint Hills Economic Development District. I'm a board member on the Flint Hills Economic Development District. Company visits that we've had, we've visited Ventria a couple of times. They're doing very well out there and working on expansion, bringing some of their processes and procedures that they had in Colorado to this location. So every time we go out there, they've expanded, they've done something new, they've added new people, so they've gotten a new product to market or to testing. So they're doing very well out there. We work very closely with Scott Dieter, their CEO out there.
They've doubled their sales since last year, so they're feeling very optimistic.
We visited ACT a number of times just to make sure that they've got everything they need out there and everything's going smoothly. We visited New Horizons RV. They're doing well out there. Tom has visited Upland Insurance. We've talked with JC Wire Harness. So those are some of our local companies that we've touched base with in the last few months. Some of the initiatives we have going on is project administration for the CDBG grant. As you know, that's kind of stalled out right now, but we're working on it. We've got another investor that we're working with, so hopefully things are going to work out with that. So we've been working on that project. Cheryl's been really great about working on that, and we haven't let it fall through yet, so we're still keeping it, still going forward with it, so hopefully everything's going to work out with it. But
Hanging on.
We've participated in regional ED activities with Manhattan, Wamego, and Pot County. We've worked on the capital campaign. We did our feasibility study. I scheduled interviews, set up meetings for Jerry. Now we're working on the actual campaign, getting that going, getting our campaign committees together, getting the process and procedures in place. I'm working on that, basically working on the administration on that with Jerry, so that's moving forward. Revolving loan fund, we had 3 revolving loans that we awarded this year. We had 1 that we denied. We have 2 that are pending now that we'll be bringing forward to you as soon as I get the applications in and we get them reviewed. We have our Partner Appreciation Day coming up. It's October 10th. It'll be at the Geary County Convention Center. The focus of it is going to be workforce innovation. We're going to have some speakers that are going to talk to us about some interesting things going on with workforce development. So I think it's going to be really good. We'll have the morning program from 8 to noon, and we'll have a buffet breakfast, and then we'll have the speakers. We'll present the Eldon Hoyle Award, which we've been working on, and then we'll have a golf event in the afternoon. So that's all sponsored by Economic Development Commission, all as a way to say thank you to our industry partners and to our business partners. So if you guys haven't gotten them already, you'll be getting invitations to that. But I think that'll be a really good activity. We're also working with Cheryl and you guys on developing our city-county project responsibilities, looking at how the EDC and the city and the county can all work together when we get a project, whose role it is to do what, and how we can make sure that we don't lose anything in communication or things like that. So we're working with that. We presented a draft on that. I'm also developing a revolving loan projects reporting form, because I realize that we get these revolving loans, and although we track that we get the payment on them, we don't really track, have they hired the people that they say they're going to? You know, what is their status? How are they doing? What can we do to help them? So I'm developing a form, and I think I sent that draft to you, Cheryl, but I'm developing a form that they're going to fill out annually so we can track where our people that have the revolving loans are at. And, you know, if they're struggling, we'll know about it. If they've met, you know, because when they get the revolving loan, it's based on the number of jobs they've created. So have they actually created these jobs, and kind of a reporting mechanism for that. They do it through CDBG, but just so we have a little bit more than just numbers information, that we kind of know what's going on with our people that we've given revolving loans to.
Which ties into our state reporting, so that'll help us immensely.
Yeah, give us a little bit better information. Again, we're working on the BRE program. We're going to do Small Business Saturday again this year. Small Business Saturday will be November 29th. Last year we did it and encouraged everybody to get out and shop our small businesses. It's a national day sponsored by American Express. They provided us with all kinds of materials and stuff last year. We had doormats to give to all the stores. If you've been into any of the businesses and they have the shop small mats, that was through that. So we're going to work with them again this year. Last year we made it more kind of chamber focused and stuff, and actually a lot more stuff is going to go on at the businesses this year. We're going to get out and talk to them and make a lot more going on to entice people to visit the businesses. But we're again an official supporter of that. We've signed up and we've been accepted to be an official supporter of that again. So we're going to be working on that. Tomorrow night we are having at the library the business succession planning seminar. For people that are looking to leave business and how they can work out getting somebody to transition, taking over their business, or how they can leave their business, retire, or whatever. That's going to be presented by the Small Business Development Center. We have about 13 people signed up for it right now, so I think that's a pretty good number to show an interest. So we're working with that. We're also working with the SBA to develop a regional SCORE chapter. SCORE is a society of basically retired executives, and they mentor entrepreneurs. And Topeka has a chapter, but we really don't have anything in this region for people. So we're working regionally with the SBDC in Manhattan and Pottawatomie County and SBA to develop a regional SCORE chapter. I think that is something that would be really beneficial to our people that get into business and need some assistance and some direction and things like that. So I think that's a really important thing to add and would really help our entrepreneurial community. And I don't know, at the MAC breakfast last month, we had a local business that was awarded an award by SBA. They had been in the SBA program and had graduated from the SBA program, and so they were awarded a national award through SBA. Quality cleaners, quality. But marketing, we're doing social media on our marketing. We have a Facebook page, which is Junction City KS-Economic Development. Right now we have about 1,100 fans that follow it. We do Twitter. We use magazine ads. We've advertised in Business Expansion Journal and Trade and Industry Journal. And those ads discuss our available land, our commercial buildings, that type of thing. We have kind of our slogan that we use for it is Consider Junction City, is what we have on our ads. And then we talk about the great things we have, award-winning schools, neighboring Fort Riley. Our access on I-70, of course, is our big selling point, so we point that out. So we've been just doing some ads out there to get our name out there. We now have a billboard on I-70, if anybody's seen that. It's our Consider Junction City billboard. So our first take at a billboard, they look differently when they get out there on the highway than they do online, so we'll be working on that. In our move to promote our bioscience and stuff, we developed postcards that we sent out to a biotech mailing list. We got a biotech mailing list online. I put together a mailing list of about 250 companies that work in the biotech field in different disciplines, and we sent out postcards to all of them that again said, Consider Junction City, talked about our assets, and those all went out probably a month or so ago just to kind of start touching those people, and then we'll develop some other things to send out to them, but just to get our name out in front of them. So we got that out. We just did the downtown guide. You guys have seen the downtown guide we did that lists all the downtown businesses, has a map of the businesses, and just shows people the dining and the retail and stuff that we have downtown. That was a big success. The downtown retailers were really happy about it. We distributed to the city. The water department has them to give them out. Hotels, campgrounds, the hospital. So they're in places where people are looking for places to eat or places to shop. And now we're looking at maybe doing an East Chestnut guide, something like that, and then maybe kind of around the rest of the area. But we wanted to focus with the downtown guide. We did it downtown because we wanted to focus on a small area where there was a retail and dining, and where we could just hand it to people and say, you know, this is where you can go and stuff, without trying to spread them out all over the community. So, and it's worked out really well. I think we've had some of the downtown businesses say that people have come into the business with that in their hands, so they've been happy with it. Contacts that we've had probably, I have 35 down here, but that's pretty much the people that have come in, and I've talked to them. I've had phone calls, I've had emails. We get contact information through both our chamber website and our EDC website, so we've got information there. But I have about 35 businesses down here that we've worked with that are new business inquiries, people coming in and wanting to start a business and trying to help them however we can with information. So, except for the people that came in from fishing and decided they wanted to start a bait shop. But anyway, we've had some developers that we've worked with that have come in and looked at land, visited with us, talked about potential businesses that could come into the area and things they could do with us. So just kind of working with them, talking to them. If we've got anything new to share with them, we contact them. And just keep in touch with them, trying to build that relationship. And we've got a couple that are seriously looking at things in the area, so we'll see how that plays out. We've worked with a local business to find a new location. We worked with Top Office to get where they're located. And then we're working with 2 potential new businesses now. Jobs that we've created, we've worked with Kohlhoff Pharmacy to create about 6 jobs. Worked with ACT to create their roughly 140 jobs. Armor, we worked with them. They've expanded, created some new shifts. They've hired about 48 more people. And then Top Office, we worked with them to get in and get settled and get established. So they created about 6 new jobs. And then Jobs Retained was working with Ventria, making sure that they had what they needed and they were going to stay in the area and they were going to expand here. So that's about 16 jobs that we retained there. So.
Sounds good. You might mention if you did the JTAG or the JAG with the school district.
Oh, yeah, we recently had conversations, and this will be at our Partner Appreciation Day, but I don't know how many of you guys have heard of JAG in the community.
Is that the one for schools?
Yeah, the Jobs for America's Graduates.
Yes.
And we're working with them. We're trying to get them more involved in the community. We've invited them to our workforce, our human resource group meetings. We're also going to have them present at Partner Appreciation Day just to talk about their programs. They really are interested in getting people in the community that can be speakers in their classes, that can maybe help work with, mentor some of their students, and that type of thing. I think it's a really good program. My only thing is it doesn't cover enough students, but, you know, they've got to kind of start out and work into it. But I think it's a really great program, and I think it's really exciting for our workforce to develop some of those kids. And
it's a program, like Susan said, that really needs focused on the soft skills, how to get a job, why it's important to show up every day and do the right things to advance your life rather than handicap your life. They have to, you know, fight with kids that come to school and to treat each other nice and show up ready to learn. And so we hear that everywhere we go in workforce development, is whether it's employers are saying, you know, the biggest challenge to us is getting them to show up every day. So that's important that they understand why they need to show up every day, and it's important that they can set their life goals where they see that value and they can improve on their lot. They can have a gradually improving financial health in their family. And so I think that's a really important program that hopefully will be expanded, and we'll have an opportunity to go into schools and talk about that. There are companies that tell us we don't care what they know, we care about their attitude. We'll teach them what we need if their attitude is receptive and they show up every day. So Not everybody, it seems like it's easy to understand, but not everybody gets it, that it's important at a very early age to learn those skills. I might mention also that I'd been invited to go on the board at the Manhattan Area Technical College, which I thought was really important that I do, knowing how important the trades are, how important the skills level that we need. We need plumbers, we need HVAC people, we need people that work in automotive and those kinds of things. And I have just noticed that message isn't getting out enough from our area tech colleges, and they're not getting integrated into our communities. So I saw something out of Fort Riley that said they were advertising that if you're getting out of Fort Riley, you can go get lineman training at Dodge City Community College. You can get lineman training at Manhattan Area Technical College. And so I didn't know that. So that's a bad job of marketing that thing. So I'm looking forward to serving there. So many times, Susan reads off all these activities. There are a lot of things going on and priorities set and those things, but there's so many things that need addressed. And the work we do, often referred to working in the shade, because so many times we will get calls, and we worked with the developer, or at least a site consultant, last spring and early summer, took several calls and answered a lot of questions about land prices. What's west side compared to east side land prices? Where would be a good place for a grocery store? Where would be a good place for, some retail development? And they were very pleased with our responses, the information that Susan and I sent, our conversations on the phone, and then they went away. And guess what? We're going to get development on the west side. Now, whether we can take credit for that or not, I don't know. But we gave a lot of information to a developer that wouldn't disclose who the grocery store was or what the other developers were. But that's the kind of work we do. So many times ours is very preliminary. We give them the information, they go away. The next time we hear about it is maybe in a commissioner meeting or at a site review committee or later on in the stage. But that's okay, just so we give them the information they need at the time they need it. So that's why it's hard to really define return on investment in the work we do, but it's essential work. I don't think I've got anything to add. I appreciate your confidence in us to let us use those funds. I think that will make a difference. We will work hard to help that make a difference. This community has got too many things to offer that we can't grow it. We've got a workforce demonstrated, I think, by ACT. I think the Workforce Center tells us that there's a workforce out there ready, willing, and able to go to work. We've got all the tools for training, whether that's local or state. We've got the incentives, most of the incentive other communities can offer. I can't get over how good the location is. We can go anywhere, virtually anywhere, in Kansas in a couple hours. Near an airport, near a university, near a labor force, near a highway. What else do you want? So, look forward to working with you guys in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the report.
Next item on the agenda will be consideration of adopting the Code of Procedures for Kansas Cities, second edition. Mr. Ficken?
Mayor and Commissioners, I think we spoke at a prior meeting a little bit about, Robert's Rules of Order and bringing this item to your attention. The Kansas League of Municipalities recommends adopting the Code of Procedure for Kansas Cities. It's a much simpler document. Passed around is a document that addresses one issue of within the Kansas procedure, and then compare that to the Robert's Rules of Orders in terms of the complexity of it. Robert's Rules of Order truly is, a document used for typically larger legislative bodies. I don't know, I think you probably had a chance to look through the Kansas procedures, and you can see for yourself that it is a much more concise and workable document. Adopting it would be a best practice, and like I said, it's highly recommended by the League. Upon developing it, we put together Ordinance G 1154 that would need to be approved to adopt. Issues otherwise covered somewhere else in the city code would still be in place, and then if it's not covered within the code, it would revert back to the Code of Procedure for Kansas City. So if it's not covered in state statute, it's not covered somewhere else in our city code, then the commission would defer to the Procedure for Kansas City's second edition. In the document, there's items in there that refer to councils and things like that. Those items were removed, and information was included in there that fits our governing body here specifically, and so it's ready for your approval. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about the document.
So this sheet of paper that you hand around, this is Robert's Rules of Order versus the city codes of procedures.
Yeah,
Just only for the motion to reconsider.
A
That's
motion
it.
to reconsider, that's
Yeah.
what you would have to do to technically follow Robert's rule.
That's the second
Here.
one in the small print on the front and the back. I mean, that provides the information you need to know to do a reconsider on a motion, whereas for the Kansas Code, it's just that one section that basically says
Yeah.
you
It
create a
says-
new motion to
Right.
a new substantive motion. It just simplifies it greatly and allows you to work better. And
This is what you'd have to follow under Robert's rule. Under Section 22 of this code, it simply reads, motion to reconsider prohibited, motions to reconsider are prohibited. Any governing body member may make a new substantive motion on a matter previously considered by the city.
Yeah, but the way Roberts
it's
reads
just
on
an-
motions to reconsider, it's highly technical as to who can make it, what is required to pass a motion to consider. It's just highly technical. Every time it comes up, or I think it's going to come up, I have to pull out Roberts and read it all again because it's just really kind of technical, and especially for a body of 5 people, it's just more complicated than it needs to be, really. I mean, it's hard, and a motion to reconsider, just using that as an example, Tyler just used that as an example, but the concept is, and I don't even remember if I think a motion to reconsider, is that at the same meeting or a subsequent meeting?
it's at the
It's
same
at
meeting.
the same meeting, so it can only be made at the same meeting. It can only be made by somebody who either voted in favor of, or I can't remember, on the winning side. It has to be, it has to be seconded, but it might require supermajority. It's just really complicated. And what the League provisions, by simplifying it, they're just saying, look, if somebody wants to bring something up for reconsideration, just do it. Just do it. Don't make it so hyper-technical, unless you want it to be hyper-technical.
I have a couple of questions on this, Tyler, like under Section 7, public comments and stuff, and you may have already alluded to it, but stuff may be covered, but right now, I don't know if I ever saw it in writing, but, we allow 5 minutes, and this says that the mayor will limit the time of each citizen based upon the number of people wishing to speak. So, does that part need to be modified to fit what we currently do, or is that already covered?
We're suggesting that you adopt it as it is here, because that's what the League's philosophy on this, and the reason they do it that way here is because this is your business meeting. It is not a time for the public to come and lobby you, and that's why they're not, in here it specifically says they're not to discuss things that are currently on the agenda. That's not the purpose of the meeting. If they have a public comment that's on a different subject or something that hasn't been brought up or that needs to be brought to attention, that's the purpose of public comment. But public comment is not for lobbying. It's not for items that are on the agenda. It's really just issues that have not been brought to your attention, or a citizen thinks that they need to be brought to your attention. on something that's not
Get that,
currently
but are
on
we
the
then
agenda.
changing what the
Yes,
current
you would be.
operation? That's
Yeah.
that's my...
And there was no,
But the mayor can still
No,
define
no.
how
Yes.
much time it is.
Right now, in your code, there's
No.
there's no time limit of 5 minutes. That is something that
you just
a
didn't.
few
asked.
years ago, I don't remember which governing body it was, but the public comments were becoming too long. And I suggested to the governing body, because Prairie Village, for example, does the same thing, and they adopted a 5-minute limit for the same reason, because they had people coming forward and taking the podium and talking for 10 or 20 or 30 minutes.
It's like a filibuster.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
really was. And so, but you can change that at any time. I don't think this prevents you from changing it.
No.
Your current practice is 5 minutes, and as long as that's what you want to, you've kind of informally adopted that, you can always change it. You can decrease it, increase it at any time. Technically, the mayor is the chairman of the
Yeah.
meeting, and I think you could change it.
And
but
if you wanted to formalize that in any way, the last section, section 42, says that you can amend these or include or
Right,
subtract
yes.
from it what you would like. So if you wanted to put something in there that said,
That says
you
specifically
would be
5
able
minutes.
to do that.
That was just my whole point I was trying to ask, is that
Yeah.
by this statement here, are we changing what we're doing, or has tradition that we've developed, which I don't have a problem with, because we do limit the amount of that discussion, but this to me was kind of changing it, so did it need to be, I guess my question was, does it need to be more in writing defining that, or?
And you could define it more. I know we left it in another city where we had the constant people coming in, wanting to filibuster and doing all kinds of things with that public comment period. We did go ahead and adopt this, and what we learned through that process after adopting this and making them sign in and say what they're there for, then we could tell if there was like 10 people all talking about one subject. The mayor, in some instance, said to it, okay, there's 10 of you are all on the same subject, could you kind of just give us a summary of what your concern is? And only had one person speak on behalf of the entire group. And so that's the kind of control that you get when you start defining what it is your expectations are. And yes, if you want to change and very specifically says here you're only going to give them 5 minutes, that's okay. But there might be cases where you want to give them more too.
And then when we're dealing on a subject, if there's people here, because of what's on our agenda during that time, we can let them step to the podium if we so choose.
Yeah, you can always have that ability.
Yes.
Yeah, the mayor always has that ability because you control the meeting. If another commissioner wants someone from the audience to speak, they would refer to you, Mayor, I'd like to
Ask you to
invite.
recognize.
Could you recognize Bob in the audience because he has something to say on this subject? And then the mayor chooses or not chooses to recognize what the commissioners have requested. That's your power and control as mayor. The real point of all of this is to simplify it as much as possible.
Okay, and what we had to read there, I'm going to ask a question, and hopefully I won't get jumped on here. Gracious. Section 2 states the mayor will not be a part of a quorum. Now, is that under Robert's rules or this new city codes procedure? And Tyler, I'll ask that of you or
Yeah, sure. That is referring only to council cities. In council cities,
Yeah,
the
that does
mayor
not
doesn't have a
refer.
vote. I
Should
left
that
that
be
in there
crossed out
because it
too?
refers to the
It
commission.
could
I
be
could
crossed
rewrite
out.
that
It's
section.
not going to apply to you.
Right.
Per commission.
In mayor council cities, the mayor only votes to break a tie.
Yes.
And that's why that's in there.
Okay.
I did change some language in section 12 because it did refer to the president of the council, which we have a vice mayor. So, and I changed that language in the.
I mean, you could delete that, but since it just says in mayor,
Yeah, in
mayor, or whatever it says there, wait, hold on, it says in council city, you're not a council city.
Right. We're a
So by
commission.
leaving it in there, it doesn't apply to you anyway.
Right.
But if you want to take that sentence out, you could.
Sure.
But it doesn't apply to you in any event.
That's the advice that the league attorney told Dyler as well, was that anything in here that doesn't apply to your commission form of government, it just doesn't apply to you. It may be in here, but it doesn't apply to you if you're not that kind of government.
And you can never be that kind of government. You're fixed as a commission city. So. They're drafting this in a way that makes it apply to both, so they don't have to draft two separate forms of code. And what applies to you, and what applies to a mayor, council, city applies to them.
And they leave some blanks in the document because there's varying numbers of board members.
And our city size tells us whether we have
And you're
strong mayor
statutory.
or
Well,
strong city.
you're a commission city manager city.
Which is a strong city manager, weak mayor.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, they're...
On the political side, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But we could change it if we wanted to, right? Or is that statutory?
You couldn't change to a council city. I don't know if you could change within the commission structure. I'd have to look at that.
I think that's a vote of the people, but
Yeah, well, yeah, it'd
Yes.
be by a
It'd
public
have to be on the
vote,
ballot.
but I don't think you can change to a council
Okay.
form of government. You might be able to change to a different commission form of government.
Thank you. So we've pretty much been working under this code of procedures. Just under
Roberts covers things that aren't otherwise covered in your code, because a lot of things are covered in your code, the establishment of a quorum and
Place
certain
and time
other
of
things.
meetings.
And also, some of the items that are covered here, I didn't get this ahead of time, so I didn't compare it to our current code. I'm assuming some of these are already covered in our current code.
Some of it is a little bit redundant. There's
It's a little
not
bit
any,
redundant.
The city code would trump any
Right.
conflict here, so.
And some of this is just simply statutory. The number of votes required to approve an ordinance and a charter ordinance, that's statutory, because it's a percentage of the governing body. So you just multiply the number by the appropriate, to get the number. So I'm sure some of it's a little redundant with what's in our code already.
it is.
So the existing code would be first, where our existing code says if something isn't covered, it's governed by Roberts. This would fill that blank, so we wouldn't go to Roberts anymore. We'd go to this.
And then the very last section states that if something's not covered by this, then it simply goes to a majority vote of the board on how to handle the issue.
So it doesn't, it never reverts to Roberts, essentially. You guys don't have to adopt this tonight if you want to think about it more.
It's vastly simpler, and I like it. So, and we've been following it anyway, whether we...
It's frankly,
About it or not.
it's not even that often that, we have to look to Roberts and figure out some really technical thing like a motion to reconsider or a motion to rescind, or if something requires, how you stop debate and vote on an amendment to a, typically, frankly, most cities don't follow it to the letter because it's so darn complicated. So
Well,
I
there's a
don't
voting
think
question
there,
that brought this to the head anyway, so...
yeah, and I don't think there's anything in here that's in any way, as a practical matter, inconsistent with the way we've been doing it anyway. It's just a lot simpler to get to the answer.
So if there is a question, it's much easier to find it quickly.
Right. And it's just more practical. It's just more practical for a small body like this.
Right.
It just makes staff, your life, so much simpler to have a quick and easy determination.
Yep.
It still gives you the parameters in which to operate your board under, and the parameters that the public as well understands. Because it's also difficult for the public to understand if you don't have it in a more simplified form.
I'd move to approve ordinance G1154.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the ordinance. Any further discussion? Does the ordinance pass? Is
Do a
this...
roll call vote?
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Landis.
Yes.
Commissioner Aska.
Yes.
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
Commissioner McAllister.
Yes.
Commissioner Sands.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Next item will be request for modification of purchase blending tank emergency cleaning.
Yes, Mayor and City Commission. What you have before you is a request from staff to modify our bid procurement process. What we're looking at doing is, it's termed an emergency. I guess maybe to clarify for the public, what do we mean by emergency is, essentially this blending tank is planned to be improved, modified as part of the Phase 1 wastewater treatment improvement projects that are currently in design. However, the design, permitting, final approval, and construction of this particular improvement as well as others, the time frame we're looking at is around 10 to 12 months, where this, we're terming it as an emergency cleaning, is we're looking to try to expedite this process where we would hopefully get this tank cleaned out within the next 30 to 45 days, probably closer to 30 days. What this tank involves is it's part of the biosolids process over at the East Wastewater Treatment Plant. We've known, as far as that it was identified during the analysis done by HDR, that this tank has some issues. It's been known that it needed to be cleaned out and some modifications undertaken on that tank. We were hoping that we would be able to delay this process until the actual modifications needed to be undertaken. That's not the case. This is a very integral part of the process as far as at the East plant. And we did work with Veolia Water initially on trying to obtain some quotes as far as on contractors to be able to come and clean this tank, dispose of the materials. However, it appeared as though that the quotes were all over as far as the board. What we're looking to do is something similar to what the Commission recently approved in the DAF pumps, is work directly with several of the vendors, develop as far as an RFP so that they're all on the level playing field. We would ask as far as to be able to waive the formal advertisement process, the formal bid letting time frame, work directly as far as with known vendors that are able to complete this work, have them all quote the work on a level playing field, and then be able to hopefully come back before the City Commission, the second meeting in October, with a request as far as to award the cleaning out of this tank, and hopefully get the tank as far as back online and used as far as within the system. Just to put it in perspective of how big of the tank that we're talking about, it's about 200,000 gallons. Right now it's about half full of material. Much of the material is probably as far as mixed solids and debris. In part that's been caused because of the aged equipment and failures that we've had as far as over at that East plant. So that's sort of resulted in that. I've had several discussions with HDR Engineering about whether indeed this could have been potentially something that could have been directed towards, say, the lack of maintenance as far as of the, say, the facility, and they're not indicating as far as such. So what we have before you is, because of the cost that we're probably looking at, which is roughly around in the range of around $75,000, $50,000 to $70,000, to clean this tank out and just properly dispose of the material. We have been in touch with KDHE about this material. It has to be properly disposed of when it is removed, and as you noted, some of the quotes, we didn't quite get a point of final destination from these, so we clearly want to make sure that's part of the RFP process. Again, what we're looking for is the Commission's approval on the modified procurement approach, because what we'd like to do is spend the time on developing as far as an RFP, directly solicit as far as the proposals from vendors that are known to work on this, and then bring this back before you
in a similar sense like we did some of the immediate needs where we sole source those and still look for the City Commission approval. So with that, I'd be happy to try to maybe answer any questions that you may have if they deal technically with the plant. Hopefully maybe Kerry Peterson with Viola Water might be able to answer them.
So after we clean this out, are we going to do work on the tank? Is it going to still have to be replaced when we update the plant, or is this something that we're going to take care of and then use it in
We're
the
not
future?
we're not looking at replacing the tank as much as doing modifications to the tank, as well as modifications to the biosolids process. There's a number of pieces of equipment that are going to be involved in that. There's probably about a dozen pieces of equipment that are related to the biosolids process over at the East Plant that are being included as part of the Phase 1 project or program. Combined, they equate to about $600,000 of new equipment or rehabilitated equipment. What we were hoping to do is that we'd be able to have a longer period of time in the operations of the East Plant until such time that we actually truly need to take this tank down, basically remove as far as the material. Well, we did the modifications, but that's not the case. So, and in the discussions that I've had with HDR Engineering as well as with Viola Water is that we really need to be cleaning this tank now. It has been brought up, my understanding, in previous discussions with the city, but never truly undertaken to truly clean that tank out.
So is it getting replaced or not at some point?
It's not getting replaced.
All right. What is the volume of the material we're hauling off? Are we talking one semi-load or 100 semi-loads to haul it away? Or what are we
We're
talking?
probably talking in the range of around 100,000 gallons of material,
So 20 tankers.
approximately that.
Initially, you said, I guess this was scheduled 6 to 8 months down the road, but now we got to do it, now we're trying to get this done in the next 30 days?
No, the modifications are planned to be under construction and undertaken within the next 10 to 12 months. And that includes the modification to the tank. There are other pieces of equipment that are included in those Phase 1 improvements. There's some pumps, some motors that I've got a list here. I know the technical aspect doesn't really concern, I think, most. But where are we going from here? We would like to have delayed this whole process so that when we let the project out, we had a contractor under bid, we could basically roll this in as part of that, and that was the plan. However,
We need the
regulatory, we need to clean it now,
Right.
is basically what we're saying.
We need the volume in order to make the process work better, so we can actually use Nutraject to.
Well, as well as to remove the solids, the solid materials that are at the bottom of the tank.
First.
Right.
Yeah, it can't be drug out anymore. They'd like to drag it out another 10 months, but basically they've reached a point where they can no longer drag it out.
Who's going to write the specifications for the RFP?
We'd be working with Eric Evans with HDR Engineering and then having some discussions with Viola Water on that, as well as KDHE.
At what cost is that?
I would suspect as far as we're probably looking at a few $1,000s to be able to develop that and review it, negotiate as far as a recommendation as far as on the final firm as far as for this. And we'd be bringing the recommendation back before the City Commission as we outlined in the report to you hopefully October 21st.
So did you talk to Ready Services and ask them what their plan was? What were they going to do with the biosolids after cleaning? I know some of that information, disposal location, is not identified. Did they come back to you and say, where do you want it to go? Or
No.
we have a place to go?
No, we didn't.
or-
We didn't receive that.
There's probably a sealed bid.
Well, once you open these bids, 10,000 to 105.
Well, actually, these were quotes that Viola Water had tried to obtain on getting as far as individuals to be able to clean and remove the material. And what we were seeing is that even though they were all given the same information, be it verbalized. The quotes that were received were all over the board. I think what we're indicating to you is we're looking to put together a formal RFP, request for proposals, and then bring that back to you. What we're asking for you is a modification on this procurement process where we don't have to formally advertise it out for bid, have as far as the formal bid time frame that is stipulated in the fiscal policy. We're basically looking to try to expedite this whole procurement process.
Between these bidders.
These bidders, in my understanding and
You're not
talking...
sole sourcing it, right?
Pardon? No. We'd be looking to contact all four of these, and my understanding is HDR Engineering believes that there are others that they feel should be able to accomplish this work. Similar to what they had undertaken on the city's behalf for the DAF pumps over at the Southwest plant. They reached out to other known contractors that they've worked with on other wastewater plants and direct solicited or tried to direct solicit as far as quotes from them. Some we were able to get and others we were not, but I think what we're trying to do is get as many as we can to give us a quote as far as on this work, knowing as far as that they're all going to be on the same RFP level playing field. We're just looking for the Commission's approval because of the cost of this and the time and effort that it will take. We're looking to essentially just the Commission's approval to modify the procurement process that we have in our fiscal policy.
One time, right?
Right.
Typically, this would probably take a month, maybe more, to put together,
Yes.
put it out. I mean, it's the timing.
Well, because of the nature of where we're at, it's still going to take us probably 3 to 4 weeks to come back to you. But the other pieces of the framework are still being done as part of that phase 1. We just don't want to be waiting that long. We really can't, the 9 to 12 months, to do all what we need to do. We need to get this process back online and working the way it should.
When you come back, then you'll have some actual dollar numbers.
Mm-hmm.
In October, correct.
Okay.
I move to approve the proposed procurement approach as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the process. Any further discussion? None here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you.
Next item is consideration of a contract amendment for the 2014 street maintenance project, mill and overlay.
Yes, Mayor and City Commission, as we noted to you early on when this project was approved, we wanted to closely monitor what was going on with our construction projects that were awarded in May of this year. Those entailed the milling and overlaying project and also the concrete patching project. As we moved forward in completing all of the work that was outlined, it became apparent to us that, and we knew this early on, that there were going to be some dollars available still unexpended that are earmarked for street maintenance. What we did do, and we noted this to you during the water main replacement project over on 9th Street, as well as we're looking at and evaluating all the street segments, we would like to, as far as move forward with the milling and overlaying of 9th Street from Jefferson to Price. This will include the 3 blocks that are essentially being covered by the water main replacement. So the nice aspect about that is we'll get it all done in one construction season and be out of the way of that particular area. The other piece that we're looking to include in this contract amendment would be some minor milling work over at the East Street. This is the piece that, as you recall, that the Gary County Public Works plans on coming in and doing an overlay on top of. We have some segments that have some curb and gutter across their frontages, as well as there is a piece that comes as you come up to the roundabout that is concrete. We want to be able to put what we term as a butt joint. The intent of this milling and the butt joint is to allow for a cleaner, as far as, I guess I want to call it a better quality overall project on the asphalt overlay. What this will eliminate is having that lip that you see in some of our streets that we have as far as where we've got a raised asphalt edge along the curb line. It'll also allow us to make sure that we've got 2 inches of asphalt all the way through that full, call it cross-section of the roadway. The final piece is to try to complete some manholes that were identified throughout the Jackson Street project, which is, or excuse me, is to complete a final block segment along Jackson Street. This would be from Elm and Pine. There are 2 asphalt segments that remain. One of them is in fairly good condition. There's a third one that is concrete down in that area. What we're looking to do is take care of one of these remaining 2 asphalt segments. By doing that, that essentially will get, we feel, Jackson Street covered basically from 18th Street all the way as far as, I guess I want to say, south as far as down to Ash. We feel we've got a pretty good street section down through there. And what we're looking for is the Commission to approve this contract amendment so that we'd be able to have the contractor complete this work. I would say in the next 30 days. They are winding down that water main project as we knew they would. They should be finishing that up by the end of this week, and that would open up as far as the means for them to go in and do the milling and overlaying and complete that project before really cold weather sets in. So with that, I'd be happy to maybe answer any questions you might have on this item.
Are there any questions?
Apparently, I'm running a little slow this evening, but am I reading this right? The initial money allotted was $504,319, and now we're asking for another additional $134,000 to basically do this additional work, correct? Okay.
And we had more money, though, in the concrete side, and you're not going the full amount on it, are you? I added the 2 projects up together, and it comes up to $1,008,000.
Right. What that does,
and we had budgeted
$1,000,001.
$1,000,001.
right. What that doesn't include is the engineering involved. With Call Valley, there was some design work related to these projects, and there's also construction engineering related to it. So we believe that we're probably going to come in slightly under the $1.1 million when everything is fully completed, but we're going to be very close to that number.
But remember, the money that is, we spent the money out of the general fund first, the $500,000.
Right.
That's spent. And then it switch over to the special highway. So any money left over remains in the special highway for future street projects. So it's not that the money gets lost or anything. It remains in the special highway fund, specifically dedicated to streets.
But that uses it up.
Yes.
Right.
Essentially, right. And I guess I should note is that the contract unit pricing in this change order are essentially those same unit prices that we received in the original bid. We thought that they were very good prices that we received this year. That's why we're recommending to try to further extend these contracts and finish up some additional work.
Let me ask you, I've noticed and I've had people make comments about Lacey Drive. Has there been any plan to do anything with Lacey Drive that is, it gets beat up by those trucks so bad out there that people coming off the highway, coming into there, that is a...
There were,
well,
Mr. McAllister, we're actually...
It's
Go
part of
ahead.
this. It's part of this.
No, it actually is part of the second item, which is the concrete patching.
Yes.
We have had discussions
Asphalt,
with Call Valley regarding that piece, and what we're looking to do is change that particular approach over to a
Concrete.
concrete
Right.
approach because of the turning movements of the trucks. Public Works has gone in there and put in hot mix asphalt in there several times. We've had the road section cored. It's just not holding because of the turning movements of the trucks that are going in and out of there. And so the next item that we'll be discussing is to hopefully approve, as far as with the concrete patching, to go in and remove that asphalt section and replace as far as with concrete.
A 10-foot section.
We're actually going to be looking at replacing the entire westbound lane is what we're looking at doing on Lacey Drive. So it'll be all the way out to where the striping is occurring, which is, I believe the piece that we're looking at is roughly around 100 by, I want to say it's probably 12 to 14 feet in width.
Okay, I didn't mean to jump ahead. What I'm trying to get at is, we have $134,000 worth of work to do over the entire city, very easily. And are we looking at the priorities before we do a 3-block section that got dismantled, destroyed because of a water main issue? We're going to use up our reserve is what we're going to do, right?
Well, no, we're looking to use the money, the $1.1 million that we had allocated for the street maintenance program. We are looking at doing that piece on Lacey Drive, as you've mentioned. We're looking to do that as the next item here. It's on the agenda. What we're looking to do is change that segment, though, from an asphalt section. Right now, it is we call it a deep strength asphalt. It is anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of asphalt out there right now on Lacey Drive. Some of it is on stone, some of it is on existing dirt or earth, so therefore it doesn't have a very good subbase. And what's happened is that the loading from the trucks and the turning movements from the trucks continue to pulverize that asphalt. They've also rutted that asphalt when the weather becomes very hot. It has slid that asphalt or moved it in certain areas, and it really has. It's really tore it up. So we did identify that as a project to include in this year's program. And it was not, I will say this, it's not part of the overall street maintenance program, but it's something we felt was above and beyond what Public Works, our Public Works street crew could really handle. And we felt we had very good prices per square yard for the concrete work over on Jackson Street. We felt it real applicable to be able to just move them over as far as onto Lacey Drive and hopefully correct an ongoing problem that we've had for several years.
Okay.
I had asked him to specifically look at it, because if you look at that one asphalt that's pushed up there on that corner, if a motorcycle at night came around that corner and hit that, we'd be talking a serious accident. Right. And so this is, it raised to the level of importance based on what we had observed going on out there.
Well, both lanes, I hate to get into the next item, both lanes are...
Yeah, it's actually it's a very wide lane there. We get into, I call it the lane tapering. What we're going to do is we're going to carry it from basically the curb line, or I call it the curb line edge of the northern edge of Lacey Drive, and we're going to bring that all the way out, the concrete, all the way out to essentially where the striping starts, because what we don't want to have is concrete and asphalt joint right at the area where you would call it the tire would continuously travel on, because then it's just going to continue to break up again. What we're looking to do is basically take that entire, call it the westbound lane, and basically make that, at the intersection, make that a concrete segment. And it would be a deep strength concrete segment similar to what you've got on Jackson Street, and that should eliminate the load-bearing issues that we've had, as well as the rutting issues that we've had with the truck traffic as far as turning movements in that area.
Okay, and the eastbound lane is going to need attention as well.
The eastbound lane, we were not looking to address that as far as at this time as part of this particular program. I do know that we've done most of the patching on that as far as westbound lane right now.
Severe.
It's not as severe, right? I would say that piece is probably about 100 foot in length by the time you go from the radius terminus from one end to the other, as far as be it from the east all the way down to the west end of that travel lane.
So you're looking for approval on this, the asphalt, and then you'll present the concrete one next.
Correct.
I move to approve the amendment of the 2014 Street Maintenance Program mill and overlay in the amount not to exceed $134,989.27 to Bayer Construction, Inc. of Manhattan, Kansas, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the additional work in the amount of $134,898. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, 5-0.
Thank you.
Additional concrete work, should say, asphalt patch. Yeah. Asphalt.
Next item is consideration approval of contract amendment for 2014 street maintenance program, the concrete patching.
Yes, Mayor and City Commission. I got a little ahead of myself on my notes. I had Jackson Street on both of these, and we are looking at doing work as far as on Jackson Street as part of this project as well. As we noted, what we're looking to do is have a contract amendment to do essentially some rework over at the intersection of Lacey and Sandusky. We're looking at replacing a portion of the asphalt roadway with a deep strength or a deep concrete as far as section, and that would be essentially covering the westbound lane on Lacey Drive, essentially as far as through the radius points as far as of this intersection. We're also looking at, during the Jackson Street project, it became apparent that there was several manhole structures that had not been picked up on the initial survey that we would like to place. We're going to term them concrete collars. These are essentially those 4x4 concrete segments that you see around the manholes to try to provide some rigidity in those structures so that they don't have a tendency to move or create excessive cracking around those. And we've identified, I believe, roughly around 10 to 12 of those that we're looking to correct as part of this change order. And with that, I'd be happy to maybe answer any questions you might have on this particular item.
I don't see anything except the Lacey Drive money.
You have to go to page 94, and if you go to change the very last item,
Manhole collars.
you'll see that, right, manhole collars, various locations. There's actually 11 of them.
Okay.
I knew that there were about 10 or 12 when initially they had indicated it to myself.
Move to approve the contract amendment of 2014 street maintenance program, concrete patch in the amount not to exceed $25,576.50 to T&M Concrete Construction, Junction City, as presented.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it.
Thank you.
Now we will move into commissioner comments.
Before that, Mayor, we had,
Oh, yes,
we'd like
I'm sorry.
to amend the agenda for an executive session not to exceed 15 minutes for attorney-client privilege with myself, the city attorney, and commission.
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second to move into executive session for
15 minutes.
attorney-client privilege not to exceed 15 minutes.
So what do
We will be back
Aye.
9:15.
9:15.
15.